Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good day to everyone. Okay, today we will discuss a new chapter. Today we will discuss on strategy implementation. Okay, if you recall back the strategic management model, all right, strategy implementation is on the third stage. Yeah, it's on the third stage. The first stage in strategic management model was environmental analysis, and then followed by strategy formulation. And then now we are on the third stage, yeah, on strategy implementation. Okay, so this is the learning objective for this chapter. Number one, we will describe the major issue that impacts successful strategy implementation. And then number two, we will discuss on how to develop programs, budgets, and procedure in order to implement the strategic change. And last but not least, we will we will list the stages of corporate development and the structure that characterize each stage. So this is the first part of this chapter, yeah, on chapter 10. And then after we finish chapter 10, we will continue with chapter 11 from this text. Yeah, it is actually a continuation from this chapter. Okay. All right. So to start off, what is strategy implementation? So as the name implies, strategy implementation means that we want to implement or we want to execute, yeah, the strategy that we formulate. Yeah. So strategy implementation is actually a crucial stage, yeah, in strategic management model. It is very even though strategy formulation is important, but even though strategy formulation is important, but strategy implementation is equally important as the strategy formulation. But why? It's because it is no point if, let's say, you can formulate a good strategy, but when it comes to implementation, it is poorly implemented. So at the end of the day, it doesn't it doesn't make sense. It doesn't achieve the intended target that we want. So it means that strategy implementation is also a crucial part in the strategic management model. Okay, so by definition, strategy implementation refer to the sum total of all activities and choices required for the execution of a strategic plan. So meaning to say, strategy implementation, in short, we can say that it is the execution of a strategic plan. Yeah, it is the execution of a strategic plan where we want to put all the planning into practice. That is what we call strategy implementation. We want to implement what we have planned. Yeah. So it is no point if we plan a very good strategy, we formulate a very brilliant strategy, but we didn't implement it. Yeah. So strategy implementation is we want to put into practice what we have planned, or we want to execute all the planning that we have made. Okay. So in doing strategy implementation, there are several crucial questions that organization need to answer. Number one, all right, in terms of who, yeah, who are the people to carry out the strategic plan, yeah. So we need to identify all the responsible people who are going to carry out the strategic plan. And then number two, what must be done to align company operation in the new intended direction. Yeah, that is the second question. What should we do, yeah, in order to align our company operation with the new intended direction? New intended direction refer to the new strategy that we want to implement. Yeah, what are the changes that we must do in term of our organizational structure, for example? Yeah, how how can we accommodate the new strategy? Yeah, what are the changes that we need to do in order to accommodate those strategies? Yeah. And then number three is how. Yeah, how is everyone going to work together to do what is needed? So these are among the crucial question that organization, or especially managers, need to answer. Yeah, in terms of who, in terms of what, and in terms of how. Yeah. Okay. In implementing a new strategy, yeah, in strategy implementation, it is not easy. It's not as easy as said. to implement a strategy. Yeah, actually, in strategic management, this is the hardest part. Actually, yeah, to implement the planning into practice. This is the hardest part. Yeah, and it doesn't come without a problem. Yeah, it doesn't come without a problem. So these are 10 10 common problem. Yeah, 10 common problem normally faced by organization when they want to implement the new strategy. Okay, number one, yeah, normally it took more time. Yeah, it took more time than planned. Yeah, this is normal. Because why? What we plan on paper, sometimes it doesn't pan out the way that we wanted. Because why? Sometimes we are facing with unexpected circumstances. Yeah. For example, now we are in the middle of PKP. Nobody have have seen this problem coming. Yeah, but now it's here. So now businesses they are facing hard time. Yeah, they really need to adjust whatever planning that they had. Yeah, among the industry that hit hard by this coronavirus outbreak. Yeah, among them is the airline industry, hotel, yeah, tourism. Yeah, I can say most businesses, yeah, most businesses are being severely affected by this coronavirus outbreak. And whatever we have planned, yeah, it will take more time, yeah, in order to implement. Because why? Due to some unexpected circumstances. All right. Number two, unanticipated major problem. Right. This is what I have talking about just now. Yeah, unanticipated major problems. All right. And then number three, among the common implementation problem is ineffective coordination. Yeah. In terms of the coordination, in terms of staffing, in terms of the operation of the organization, sometimes is poorly coordinated in order to accommodate the new strategy. All right. Number four, competing activities and crisis created distraction. Number four, organization often face distraction. Yeah, distraction because of their own activities, and sometimes because of the crisis that arise. Because why? When we want to implement a new strategy, all right, organization, they must change. Yeah, they must change the way they work. They must change the way they operate, and sometimes changes create chaos. That's why sometimes crisis created. Sometimes managers are facing a lot of distraction, yeah, from employees, from their own internal environment. Okay. And then number five, employee with insufficient capabilities. Sometimes implementation is difficult because our employees are not capable enough, right? Are not skillful enough. Yeah, maybe sometimes our employees are not equipped with the latest knowledge or the latest know-how on the current technologies. Yeah. Okay, number six, lower level employees were inadequately trained. Yeah, in term number six, in term of training, right? In term of training, for example, our lower level employees, they were poorly trained. Yeah, because why? Maybe management, they overlook this employee because they might be thinking that, oh, this is just the lower level employees. They just are doing just a unimportant job. They are just doing a normal job, for example. So we don't have to pay much attention to them. We don't have to invest a lot on them, for example, to go to training and whatsoever. So at the end of the day, because of that judgment, yeah, it will catch us in terms of when we want to implement something big, right? Our employees are not fully equipped with the knowledge that are required. All right. Okay, number seven, uncontrollable external environmental factors. Yeah, uncontrollable external environmental factors. Things things that happen beyond our control. That is what we call external environmental factors. Yeah. Again, coronavirus, the COVID-19 issue is a very what we call clear example of uncontrollable external environmental factors. Nobody can control it, right? And it affects most businesses, not only in one country, but the whole world. Yeah, the whole world now bracing themselves for the impact of this coronavirus outbreak. Okay. All right. Number eight is poor departmental leadership and direction. All right. This is among the critical issue, poor leadership. Yeah, poor leadership, because to implement a good, successful, to implement a successful strategy, all right, it requires a very, very strong leadership from the corporate leader, all right. Sometimes organization, they do not have enough leadership. Yeah, they don't have enough leadership which can show direction, which can show a clear direction to the employees. So when the leaders themselves are failing to show direction to the employees, where is the new direction that we are going to go, so it might affect severely the employees, right? Okay, number 9, key implementation tasks and the activities were poorly defined. Yeah, the KPI, for example, is poorly defined. Workers are not clear what are being expected from them. For example, what are their tasks, what are their KPIs, for example. So they are not clear, right? So it will influence the strategy implementation badly. All right. Again, and number 10, the information system inadequately monitored activities. Yeah, in the lack of information system. All right, so these are among the 10 common strategy which can cause, this is among 10 common strategy implementation problems. So this is among the 10 common problems that might hinder the effectiveness of strategy implementation. So management, they must strive themselves in order to overcome this limitation and this problem. Okay. Okay, so next we are discussing about developing programs, budgets, and procedure. All right, program, budgets, and procedure are very, very crucial to the strategy implementation. Yeah, okay, now let's discuss program first. Okay, what is a program? A program is a collection of tactics. Yeah, remember this, yeah? Program is a collection of tactics. Yeah, what is a tactics? It's a tactical approach on how to implement the strategy. Yeah, so program basically is a collection of tactics where a tactic is the individual action taken by the organization as an element of the effort to accomplish a plan. So it is the what we call it is what we can say that tactics or program or tactic is an action taken by the organization in order to accomplish the plan. So meaning to say the purpose of a program or tactics is to make a strategy action oriented. What does it mean by action oriented? Action oriented means that we want to make the strategy you know what we call able to be implemented. This is what we call action oriented. Yeah, it doesn't just a blur concept, but when we talk about programs, we are turning strategy into what we call implementable tactical action. So this is what program is all about. We are trying to make the strategy action oriented so that it can be implemented. Yeah, this is what we call program, right? And then part of the program, part of the tactics or program is part of the tactic is timing tactic. Yeah, include under tactical approach is timing tactics. What is a timing tactic? Timing tactics, we deal with the issue of when. Yeah, when a company should implement a strategy. Yeah, when to implement a strategy, because timing is a big factor. Yeah, in implementing a strategy. Too soon is not good. Too late is also not good. Yeah, so we must find the right moment in order to implement the strategy. We must find the right moment to enter the market. Okay, so when we talk about timing tactics, there are two types of timing tactics. Number one, we call it the first mover. Yeah, the first mover tactics. What is the first mover? First mover means that your company is the first. Yeah, is the first to enter the market. For example, the first company to manufacture and sell a new product or service. That is what we call first mover. Yeah, in terms of the timing, you are the first to manufacture and to sell such a product in a marketplace. There is no other product like yours in the market before. So you are the first to introduce such a product. So when you are doing so, it means that you are doing the first mover tactics. Yeah, the first mover tactics. So what is the advantage of being a first mover? Yeah, the advantage are a lot. Yeah, because why? The market, the market will be what we call, there will be no competitors. Yeah, there will be relatively low or small number of competitors. Yeah, in regard or in relation with the new products that you introduce. So it gives you opportunities, to conquer the market share in relation with your new products. Yeah, for example, when smartphone first come into the market, right? We can say that the smartphone that we know today is number one is being introduced by Apple. Yeah, so by iPhone, for example. So we can say that iPhone first launched their product into the market, and followed by Samsung. So we can say that Apple is was taking the first mover tactics. Yeah. Okay, and then the late movers. What is a late mover? Late mover is the opposite of the first mover. Late mover may be able to imitate. Late mover, they are not the first who enter the market. They let other companies first enter the market, and they are among they are among what we call the last company. Yeah, they are among the latest company to enter the market. Why? Because they are able to imitate the technological advances of others. Yeah, by doing that, they can keep the risk down. Yeah, they can keep the risk down by waiting until a new technological standard or market is established. Yeah, they wait until such technology, for example, become a market standard, or what we call it, become the industry standard. For example, nowadays, the touch screen has become the industry standard. All smartphones today are using this touch screen. Yeah. Of course, Apple was the first, or iPhone was the first product or the first brand to introduce such a phone. Yeah, a phone without button. Yeah, a phone without button, which was ridiculed by Nokia. Yeah, in the first place. But because of that, Nokia is being kicked out of the. Nokia was being kicked out from the industry for good. For example, now Nokia just become a small time player. Yeah, they are no longer able to recapture their former glories. Because why? Because Apple, Samsung, and even Huawei to nowadays are dominating the market. Yeah, in a way that Nokia never imagined before. All right. Okay, so even though iPhone was the first company to introduce a buttonless phone, but now this concept, this touchscreen concept, has become the industry standard or technological standard, or in the market. So now all smartphone are using that way, are using the touch screen. So for a late movers company, small company, like if you can name any, like company like what, Vivo, Oppo, those are what we call late movers. They are not the first to enter the market with this kind of product. They just imitate the technological advances of other company. By doing that, they keep down, they keep the risk down. Okay, because they do not want to take any risk, and they just follow the industry standard. And they also selling their products. Yeah, because why? They know that this is the industry standard. We just follow whatever the market is doing right now. And right now the market is about touchscreen phone, so we are producing the touchscreen phone as well. Okay, and then by being a late mover, they can take advantage of the first mover's natural inclination to ignore market segment. Yeah, again, by becoming the late movers, they can have some advantage, which is what they can focus into a specific segment that is being ignored by the first mover. All right, maybe there is a small market niche that that is not being utilized by the first mover. So the late mover, they are scavenging this what we call smaller market that is being left out by the first mover. All right, so this is the late mover. So becoming a late mover also have a pro and cons. Yeah, among the pros, they could avoid risk, for example. Among the disadvantage, they are not able to conquer huge market share. Because why? They enter the market very late. Because why? Other people or other company have dominated the market, because other company have benefited from the market long before this late company come. So this again, so this is what we call the late movers. Yeah, the late movers. Normally, a small company, they will choose a late movers approach. Why? Because why? Because they have limitation in terms of size, in terms of finance, and so on. In terms of their internal strength, they do not have enough internal strength in order to become a first mover. Yeah. All right. Okay, next, still on tactics, we discuss on location. Yeah, the first tadi kita discuss tentang timing. Yeah, tadi kita discuss timing. So when we discuss timing, it is the question of when. Yeah, when. So the question of when can be divided into first mover or late mover. All right. Okay, now we are discussing the question of where, where to compete. Still, we are on tactics. So when we talk about where to compete, all right, we are talking about location. Yeah, we are talking about location. All right. So where to compete? Number one, we need to decide on market location tactics. Yeah, deal with where a company implements a strategy. Yeah, where a company implements a strategy. Okay, nowadays business are moving toward online. Yeah, offline was history. Yeah, offline tactics, offline marketing approach, offline marketing campaign were history. Now business are being operated online. Yeah. Now during PKP, as you can see, most businesses, most of our daily transaction mostly are being done by online. Yeah, now online is online businesses has become has become the new norms in our society that we have to get used. All right. So so when we talk about market location tactic, it deals with where a company implements a strategy. Where can refer to a physical location as also. Yeah. But where also can refer whether you can choose whether you want to choose a physical location or you want to choose the what we call the online platform. All right. Okay. And then again, when we talk about location tactics, we also talking about offensive tactics and defensive tactics. What is offensive tactics? Offensive tactics is a tactic menyerang. Yeah? Offensive, aggressive. Offensive means aggressive. Offensive tactics means that usually it takes place in an established competitor's market location. What does it mean? It means that you are trying to invade your competitor's what we call stronghold. It means that maybe that for example, a certain brand is very strong at a certain place. For example, now we decide to attack that brand at their home ground. Yeah, this is what we call offensive tactics. Yeah, offensive tactics. We are trying to beat them in their own home ground. Yeah. Example, let's say what? Let's say we take a car, for example, a car brand, let's say Honda or Toyota, for example, right? They are from Japan, of course, and they are worldwide car manufacturers. Of course, they are global global player. Yeah, they produce car all over the world, and we know that where is their home ground? Of course, their home ground, their spiritual home ground is their own country, Japan. Okay, now let's say we are very ambitious. We are Proton. We are very ambitious. For example, we want to, face Honda, Toyota full frontal. For example, we want to beat them at their home ground. For example, so now we are selling our Proton car in Japan because we want to dominate the Japanese car market from Toyota and Honda, for example. That is what we call offensive tactic, and crazy as well. Yeah. All right. So that just to give you some scenario, right? That is what we call offensive tactics. We know that our competitor is very strong in this part of the world. For example, we want to seize that market from them. We decide to attack them at their what we call stronghold. So that is an offensive tactic. So it means that we ourselves, we must be strong also in to be able to do that. If not, it is a suicide mission. Okay. All right. And then defensive tactics. What is a defensive tactics? Defensive tactic is the opposite of offensive tactic. Instead of attacking people, now we are just defending our territory. Yeah, this is what we call defensive tactic. Usually take place in the firm's own current market position as a defense against possible attack by a rival. So it means that defensive tactic, we are trying to protect our 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 home ground lah. Yeah, we are going to protect our own local market. For example, now in the local market, let's say we are very dominant, so we want to protect that. So that is what we call defensive tactics. Okay, class. Offensive tactics have several types. There are several types of offensive tactics. Yeah, one of them full frontal, like I mentioned just now. Yeah, where you attack face to face. Yeah, face to face, because maybe you feel that you are also strong enough. Yeah, so you want to face your opponent face to face. This is what we call frontal assault. Yeah, and then we have flanking maneuver. Yeah, and then we have bypass attack, encirclement, and guerrilla warfare. So these are all offensive tactics, which I want you all to do some reading on this, yeah, on these tactics. Yeah, this is your assignment. All right, this is your reading assignment. I want you to read more on this offensive tactic. Yeah, the types of offensive tactics. Remember, what is the common thing among these five tactics? Remember, this is the offensive tactic. We want to attack our opponent at their home ground. Yeah, remember that. So there are many types that we can do. We can do frontal assault. We can do flanking maneuver. Flanking maneuver means that we are not face them face to face, but we attack them from side, left or right, for example. Yeah. All right, and then bypass attack, encirclement. Encirclement apa dia? Encirclement, it means that you surrounded them, kepung. Yeah, you kepung mereka. Yeah, guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare, it means that you do ambush on them. Yeah, while you try to do unexpected assault on them. This is what we call guerrilla warfare. Yeah, guerrilla warfare. So please read these offensive tactics. Okay, and then we also have defensive tactics. Yeah, these are some defensive tactics. So defensive tactic, it means that we want to protect our own home market. For example, we want to protect our stronghold. For example, we do not want other brand come and invade and conquer our ground. So this is the defensive tactic. What we can do? We can raise the structural barriers. Yeah, what is the structural barriers? Structural barriers may be in terms of rules and regulation to enter that kind of industry. So it is not easy. So we can raise that bar, for example. So that is it can become part of our defense mechanism. Or we can increase expected retaliation. Yeah, increase expected retaliation. So to scare off, any potential incoming, to scare off any potential new threats or new firms into the market, we can increase our expected retaliation. It means what? Kalau mereka masuk, kita bertindak macam tu. So maksudnya mereka akan rasa takut. ya, company-company yang nak masuk tu. Alright, and then for example, some for example, let's say normally still we are talking about increased expected retaliation. For example, new incoming firm, when they are new into the market, so they want to gain sudden recognition. What they do? Yesterday we discussed. Yeah. So among the strategy that newcomers can use is they can use penetration pricing mechanism. Yeah, they can use the penetration pricing. Yeah, penetration pricing, it means that they are selling at the lowest, at the lower than the market level, lower than the market price. So normally that is the strategy that newcomers might use. So as the what we call incumbents in that market, so what we do, we can increase our expected retaliation. So if you lower your price, we will lower our price also. We already have our strong fan base. You are a new company, so if you do that, we will retaliate. So it means that you can increase expected retaliation. You don't attack, but you take a stand that if you mess with us, we will retaliate. So it will give them, it will send a message to the potential competitors that they might find a hard time, to survive in this market, for example. So it will become our defensive tactics as well. What you can do, I can do better. That is the mentality. All right. Lower the inducement for attack. All right. This is also part of the defensive tactic. So I want you all to read also about offensive and defensive tactics. All right. Let us continue. Okay, now we are on to budgets and procedure. All right, so done. We are done about programs. Well, remember, program is equal to tactics. Program is equal to tactics. So what we have discussed, there are two types of tactics. Number one is about timing, and number two is about location. All right, timing and location. Under timing, we have discussed the first mover and the late mover. So under location, we have discussed offensive tactics and defensive tactics. And of course, offensive and defensive tactics, there are several types, which I want you to do some reading on that. Okay, all right. So next, on budgets and procedure. Okay, planning a budget is the last real check a corporation has on the feasibility of its selected strategy. What does it mean? It means that budget is the final key, is the one last real check a corporation has on the feasibility of its selected strategy, whether this strategy can be done or cannot be done. The last determining factor is budget. Let's see, do we have enough budget or not? Do we have enough budget or not? Let's say our planning, for example, when we do strategic planning, of course we are looking forward. We are looking for where is our direction, let's say in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, 10 years, for example. So if let's say in next 5 years we are going into a certain direction, for example, so in order to implement that strategy, the last reality check that we must do is we must look back at our budget. We must look back at our budget. Do we have enough money to finance our strategy in order to go where we want to go? That is the question. For example, if let's say from Perlis, for example, you want to go to Johor Bahru, for example, that is your direction. So you must check in your wallet, how much money do you have? With that, is it the money that you have in your wallet is sufficient to fuel our journey towards Johor Bahru? That is the question. All right. Okay. So the same thing with strategy implementation. Strategy implementation. One last real check is budget. Whether the strategy is a go or no go, then it must depends on the budget. Feasibility, what does it mean? Feasibility meaning that project can be done or cannot be done. That is what we call feasibility. All right. Okay. So whether it can be done or cannot be done is lastly depends on budget. All right. Okay, and then what is procedure? Procedure refer to the details, the details, the various activities that must be carried out to complete a corporation's program. So it's a detail activities that must be carried out in order to complete a corporation's program. So we have a tactics, we already list down the tactics that we must do in order to implement the strategy. So procedure meaning that it is more detailed than the tactics. How can we implement that tactics? That is procedure. Tactic is how to implement strategy. In order to implement strategy, we need tactics. In order to implement tactics, we need procedure. Remember, you get that? All right. So that is what we call procedure. It's a very detailed activities on things that we must do in order to carry out the tactics or programs. And then procedure, it will become our standard operating procedure. It will become our SOP. This is how do we work. For example, it is the standard of working. So that's what we call standard operating procedure. All right. Okay. Synergy, achieving synergy. Okay, well, class, what is synergy? All right, I think we have discussed synergy in chapter, I think, in earlier chapter. Synergy basically, we have discussed, is a transferable skills, right? Transferable skills, synergy. All right, synergy, one of the objective of strategy implementation is that we could achieve synergy, among our organization. If let's say we are the parent company, we have many sub company below under us. So achieving synergy means that synergy exists, for a divisional corporation. What is a divisional corporation? Divisional corporation means that a corporation which has many what we call division, many division, many SBUs, for example, or they have many sub company under them. Maybe they are parent company, they have many sub company under them. So this is what we call divisional corporation. So synergy exists for a divisional corporation if the return on investment or the ROI is greater than what the return would be if each division were an independent businesses. What does it mean? So synergy, we can say that a company can achieve a synergy if their ROI is higher compared to those company is being run as independent business. When they are together, they are stronger. This is what we call synergy. This is what I say transferable skills. As a parent company, they might pass on their skills, some their expertise to the to their SBUs, so that together their ROIs are higher compared to if the SBU is being run as an independent business unit. Okay, so this is what we call synergy. Okay, there are 6 forms of synergy. Number one, the shared know-how. Shared know-how, sharing of knowledge, for example. Coordinated strategy, strategy that is being coordinated. All SBUs, all what we call, let's say, parent company, they have many SBU under them. What is SBU, class? Strategic Business Unit. What is strategic business unit, class? Strategic business unit, I can say branch, or anak syarikat, So it means that all the branches, all the SBUs, they are able to have a coordinated strategies. This is also a form of synergies. All right, and then a shared tangible resources. Okay, all the SBUs are able to share resources with the parent company. For example, economy of scale or economy of scope. All right, economy of scale, it means that these companies are able to produce in large quantity. Economy of scope, on the other hand, is they can do customization. And then number 5, pool negotiating power. So together they have a huge negotiating power. Negotiating power maybe refer to the they can negotiate better with their suppliers, yeah, or they can negotiate better with their customer, for example, because why? They have negotiating power. All right, and then maybe together they can form new business creation. So this is the sixth form of synergy. Okay, class. When we talk about strategy implementation, this is a very, very, very important concept that we must understand. That when we want to implement a strategy, our structure, yeah, what structure is that I'm talking about? I'm talking about our business structure or our organizational structure. Yeah, should follow the strategy. Yeah, not strategy follow structure, but our structure should be flexible enough to be changed in order to follow strategy. Yeah. So structure follows strategy. What does it mean? It means that we need to do changes, yeah, in our corporate strategy. Changes in corporate strategy lead to changes in organizational structure. Why so? Why so? Because let's say, for example, let's say we take an example of a car, for example. If let's say the car, we want to go faster, the strategy is that we want to go faster. Of course, we need to do some modification, some changes to the existing structure of the car, for example. Yeah, for example, rule number one, the car has to be lighter. Yeah, kereta itu mesti jadi ringan, ya. If the car is lighter, then it can go faster. So we need to get rid of all unnecessary parts, for example, to make it lighter, for example. So the same thing with organization. You know, if let's say we are setting a certain goal or a certain objective, but we are being dragged back by our limitation in terms of our organizational structure or our organizational policy simply do not allow that. So that has to change. That has to change. Because why? Strategy is more important than the structure. Yeah. Without a strategy, without a direction, organization is nothing. Structure is useless. Because why? The most important thing is we want to achieve our objective. This is the direction that we want to go. So everyone must willing to change. Yeah, everyone must be able to change. Everyone must realign their focus towards the new direction. The same thing with our organizational structure. Okay, so as you can see here, the process begin when number one, new strategy is created. When the new strategy is created, then number two, new administrative problem emerge. Of course lah, new administrative problem. Yeah, new administrative problems emerge. Right? Of course lah, because why? Because when the new strategy is going to be implemented, we need new SOP. Remember? We need new procedure. Yeah, we need new procedure. We need new SOP. When new SOP means what? New rule, new administrative rules. Yeah. So of course, in the early stage, it will cause problem. Yeah, it will cause administrative problem. And because of that, our economic performance also decline. Yeah, economic performance means our business performance also declines. Because why? Because we are in the middle of a transition. Yeah, we are in the middle of a transition, so it takes time before things settle. All right, number four. Yeah, after things settle, now we create new appropriate structure. Yeah, new appropriate structure is created. New appropriate structure is a structure that support the strategy. Yeah, a new structure that support the strategy is being created, and then when we have everything settled down, then our economic performance start to rise again. So this is what we call structure follow strategy. Yeah, structure follow strategy. All right. Okay, so these are some stages of corporate development. Yeah, some stages, since we are talking about structure. Yeah, so the structure evolve with the evolution of our company. Yeah, normally, when we first start our company, of course, we will adapt a simple structure, yeah, flexible and dynamic, yeah, flexible, simple structure, yeah, simple structure. It means that there are not so many departments, yeah, just maybe the owner or the founder, for example, and then some workers under him, for example. This is a simple structure. So as our company grow, okay, we adopt a bigger structure, yeah, we call it a functional structure. Functional structure, it means that we have many functional units, yeah, we have many functional departments under a manager. For example, we have marketing, we have HRM, we have finance, operations, and so on. Because why? As our company grow bigger, well, in terms of tasks and jobs to be done also increase. Yeah, the number of job and tasks to be done also increase. So we need to group those tasks and job to be done together into one department, so that every department can focus on their role and on their duties. Yeah, so this is a functional structure. And then as our business grow bigger, so we start to adopt divisional structure. Yeah, divisional structure, management of a diverse product lines in numerous industries. All right. So due to that, we will experience decentralized decision making. Why decentralized decision making? Because our organization has grown bigger than before. So in terms of the operational scope of our organization also become bigger and more complex and complicated. That's why one man cannot decide everything. So we must practice decentralization in decision making. Yeah, divisional structure. Example of divisional structure, maybe you can, yeah, if you, let's say you produce many product lines, for example. So each product line might have their own structure. Yeah, so that is the extent of how big the company are. Yeah, the divisional structure. And if you grow even bigger, so it is beyond SBUs. Yeah, we our organization will adopt a more complex, yeah, a more sophisticated structure. Yes, for example, they can adopt matrix structure or network structure. Yeah, so please refer your books on matrix and network structure. Right? Okay. Okay. Now let us continue with the chapter 11. Actually, this is the second part. Still on strategy implementation. Okay. All right. But in chapter 11, we are still on strategy implementation, but we are focusing on staffing and directing. Yeah. Again, organizational structure, all right, staffing also should follow strategy. Yeah, just now we discussed that structure must follow strategy, right? All right, that is one thing. So not only structure that should follow strategy, but staffing policy also should follow our strategy. Yeah. Okay, so one way to implement a company business strategy, such as overall low cost, for example, is through training and development. Yeah, this is how you align or you design your staffing policy. Yeah, should be based on the strategy that we want to follow. All right, so staffing and training, yes, or in terms of staffing or the HR policy, yeah, of course we need to prepare, yeah, adequate manpower, yeah, in terms of skills, in terms of numbers, so that we can fulfill the strategy that we wanted. All right. And then also when we talk about staffing policy, yeah, executive characteristic. What is executive here, class? Executive, it means that the workers lah, kita kata level pegawai dan ke atas. So kita panggil executive. Alright, this higher the managerial officer, yeah, the managerial officer. Alright, so class, when we talk about workers, yeah, workers, we can say there are two broad categories. We can say that management employees, yeah, employees in management, and non-management employees. Normally, non-management employees, it means that people who are doing the supportive jobs, yeah, managerial level employees, we can call them executive. So it means that these are the officer, yeah, the managerial level. They have some form of managerial power, so we call them executive. So executive characteristics influence strategy outcome for a corporation. So there are several types. So in order to match the manager to the strategy, when we talk about staffing policy, in appointing a manager, also we need to make sure that it match the strategy that we want to implement. So that we can avoid the risk of appointing wrong person for the wrong position. Right? If we are appointing wrong person for the wrong position, it might affect our strategy achievement. It might affect our mission to accomplish our strategy. All right, so class, here there are several types of executive. What is an executive? Executive type. Executive with a particular mix of skills and experiences. Of course, as an organization, we want our executive to have a mix of skills and experience. And we should pair them with a specific corporate strategy. I mean, their types, their characteristic, their types should be mixed with the requirement, of our strategy implementation. Okay, let us see several types of executive. So we have, number one, we have a dynamic industry expert. This is part of one type of executive, a dynamic, very strong, very energetic industry expert. And then we have analytical portfolio manager. Some executive, they are very analytical, they are very good with number, they are very good with analysis. Or some managers or some executive, they are very cautious with profit planner. Ada juga yang bersifat agak konservatif, yang agak berhati-hati. They are very cautious in order to planning for profit making activities. They are quite conservative. Ada yang, for example, turnaround specialist. Turnaround specialist. What is turnaround specialist? Turnaround specialist, it means that these executives, they are very good in turning the company around from the brink of bankruptcy to its former glory, for example. So this is what we call turnaround specialist. And then we have a professional liquidator. So these are all several types of executive. Please read them. Please read them. All right. So when I say read, because it is important. Okay. Okay. The other thing, all right, apart from structure, apart from staffing, all right, the third thing that should also follow strategy is our culture. Which culture? Our corporate culture. Right? Corporate culture is another dimension of management, which is also a very, very important. Because why? When we talk about strategy implementation, we are talking about change. We are talking about organizational change. So when we talk about organizational change, like it or not, sometimes we have to break our old tradition, our routines. We have to break the way we do things. Because why? We want to implement the new way, the new method, the new technology, for example. So we have to break free from our old routines and our old SOPs and our old traditions, for example. So it means what? It means that implementing a new strategy will also result in change, especially in cultural change, because we are no longer doing things the way we do it before. For example, class, just right in front of us, like in this now in PKP, in PKP, we are familiarizing ourselves with the new norms. Among the new norms that we are trying to practice right now is what? Social distancing. Social distancing.
we never practiced it before. We never knew anything about it before. Social distancing, what the hell about it? We don't care about it. Yeah, social distancing, and you need to wear masks, you know, avoid contact with other people. So this is a new norm. This is the new what we call the new practices, yeah, the new way of living that we are trying to adapt right now. Of course, yeah, if you can notice, yeah, during the early days, during the first PKP, you know, when the government first announced that we are under restricted movement order, you see or not? If we can, you can see from our social media, there are many posting, you know, as if people don't care about this PKP. You know, if you can remember, you know, there was a video, a group of people, they were enjoying a feast like kenduri, makan kepala kambing and so on, and then they ridicule the PKP order, they ridicule the quarantine order, and what happened to that guy? The police take him. The police took him. All right, because why? Because during that time we are still cannot follow these new norms, yeah, this new way of living. Because why? uh, because to break free, yeah, to break free from our old tradition, our routine, this is very difficult. It's very, very difficult, because this is a cultural thing, because it is deep rooted in our life, because we have been doing it, we have been practicing that way of living for, you know, I think maybe since we are little until today. Yeah, what we are experiencing today, this PKP, this new norms, is very unprecedented. We never had it before. Yeah, this is very new. Yeah, so now we are in the fourth stage of PKP, and now people start to understand the concept of social distancing. Yeah, the importance of not having a direct contact with other people, especially those who are not well. For example, you know, people are trained to wear masks whenever they go out, for example. So this is the new norms. Yeah, all right. So class, the same thing with changing corporate culture. In order to secure a successful strategy implementation, culture has to support strategy. Yeah, tadi kita kata apa? Structure need to follow strategy. Alright, staffing need to follow strategy, and culture also need to follow strategy. Yeah. All right. As you can see here, yeah, strong culture are resistant to change. That is very, 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 very true. A strong culture that are very, very resistant to change. Yeah. For example, in our culture, yeah, when we are forced to implement PKP and social distancing, you know, our culture, our culture, for example, we are not like the Westerners. For example, Westerners, they are more individualistic, whereas we live in group. Yeah, our culture here in this Asian culture lah, for example, normally we live in group. Yeah, so we live in community. We love to do things in that involve many people. So this is our way of life sometimes, and suddenly we have to abandon things that we have known so far, and to adapt with the new norms is not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. Until the fourth PKP now, it start to bear fruits. Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. So strong cultures are resistant to change. Optimal culture support mission and strategies. Yeah. And management must evaluate what a particular change in strategy means to the corporate culture. Yeah, assess whether a change in culture is needed, and decide whether an attempt to change the culture is worth the likely cost or not. Because why, to change culture is not easy. Yeah, and it involves some cost also. All right, some financial costs, some non-financial costs. Yeah, non-financial costs, of course, you will face retaliation. Yeah, you will face resistance from your own workers. Yeah,
When they resist, when they retaliate, it means that they, their productivity level will be jeopardized. Yeah. Okay. So class, this is the some question that can help manager to assess whether the strategy that they want to that they want to implement, whether it is compatible or not with the culture, or the other way around, whether the existing culture is compatible or not with the new strategy that we want to implement. All right, what was the first question? Okay, the first question is the proposed strategy compatible with the company's current culture? That is the very, very fundamental question. Yeah, is the proposed strategy, is the proposed strategy compatible? Compatible means is it matching or not? Matching or not with the company's current culture? So that is the question that manager need to answer, whether yes or no. Yeah. So yes, kalau yes, nak buat apa? Kalau no, nak buat apa? So that is the thing. All right. And then number 2, can the culture be easily modified to make it more compatible with the new strategy? So that is the second question. Let's say if the answer is no. So the second question says, can we modify it a little bit to make it compatible with the new strategy? If the answer is yes, then okay. What about if the answer is no? If the answer is no, then you go to the next question. Is management willing and able to make major organizational change and accept probable delays and a likely increase in cost? Just in order to make the strategy implementation successful. Yeah. So this, management are willing to make some sacrifice or not? If they are willing, then okay. If they are not, this is the last question. Is management still committed to implement the strategy or not? If yes, then we must do something, in order to change our culture. But if the answer is not, if the answer is not, it means that management are not committed anymore to implement that strategy. Then what? Then they have to find other strategy lah. Yeah, they have to find other strategy. Maybe this particular strategy is no go. Why? Because the culture, the existing culture simply not support it. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's see this figure. Yeah, this figure. All right. Assessing strategy and culture compatibility. All right. This is the first question. If you hopefully you can see. Yeah. All right. The first question is the proposed strategy compatible with the current culture? If yes, then okay. Tie the changes into the culture. Then finish. Yeah. Meaning that if the strategy that you want to implement is already aligned with the current culture, then it's okay. Then there will be not much changes needed. Just integrate the new strategy with the current culture. Finish. But what if the answer is no? This is the problem. What if the answer is no? Yeah, no to the question of is the proposed strategy compatible with the current culture? What about if the new strategy is not compatible with the current culture? So if the answer is no, then what to do? So if the answer is no, then we ask ourselves another question. Can the culture be easily modified to make it more compatible with the new strategy? Kan? So can we modify it? Can we modify the culture a little bit or not in order to, accommodate the strategy? If the answer is yes, then it's okay. We just introduce minor culture changing activities. Then fine, finish. But what if the answer is no? We cannot make modification. So if the answer is no, then what happened? Then we ask ourselves another question. Is management willing and able to make major organizational changes and accept probable delays and a likely increase in cost? So let's say if our culture cannot be modified, cannot be modified at all, for example, then the next question that we should ask ourselves, Are we willing to make major changes to make way for the strategy? If the answer is yes, then okay. If the answer is yes here, then what we do is just manage around the culture by establishing new structural unit to implement the new strategy. So if the answer is yes, no problem. We just set up new structure. But what if management cannot implement or cannot do major organizational changes? If they cannot, then management has to ask themselves another question: is management still committed or still interested to implement this strategy? If the answer is yes, then they have to find way in order to implement it. For example, maybe they can find a joint venture partner or contract with other company to carry out the strategy. Kok mana pun nak implement juga. So we find, let's say, a joint venture partner, joint venture project. Bottom line, we can implement the strategy if the management is still interested to implement this strategy. But if the management is not interested anymore to implement this particular strategy, then what should they do? They should formulate a different strategy, for example. So this is what we call, how do we assess the compatibility between our strategy and our culture. Okay, class, I think that's it on strategy implementation. We have discussed quite a lot, so I hope you please do your own readings, your own reading on sections that I asked you to read, because I feel that is important parts in this chapter. Yeah, please read them. Okay, so overall we have covered I think almost everything about strategy implementation. All right. So basically, strategy implementation, according to your book, your textbook, is being covered by 3 chapters actually. Yeah, chapter, if I'm not mistaken, chapter 9, 10, and 11, for example, if I'm not mistaken. But for to make it compatible with our study outline or course outline, all right, only chapter 10 and chapter 11 that are relevant. Yeah. Okay. So class, I would like to thank you for your attention. So hopefully you can listen again to this lecture whenever you're free at your own convenience. Hopefully, you can study well. Okay, thank you, and Assalamualaikum.